Dr. Vexalia Nesrit adjusted her ocular implants, certain she had miscalibrated them. The readings couldn't possibly be correct. Analysis verification requested, she said to the monitoring system. Subject species appears to be deliberately ingesting ethanol compounds for recreational purposes. Analysis confirmed, the system responded. Subjects also intentionally expose themselves to harmful ultraviolet radiation to modify dermal pigmentation and regularly accelerate to terminal velocity with only fabric apparatus for deceleration. Vexalia's primary respiratory bladder constricted in distress. In 300 years as senior xenobiologist for the Galactic Conclave, she had documented 42 emerging intelligent species. None had displayed such blatant disregard for basic survival imperatives. Preliminary assessment: collective neurological dysfunction or ritualistic self-destruction patterns, she recorded, transmitting her findings to Conclave Central. Recommend immediate diplomatic intervention before species achieves interstellar capability. Ambassador Krithax of the Valthid hegemony reviewed his first contact protocols for the 17th time as his diplomatic vessel maintained stealth orbit above the mysterious planet called Earth. His 6 hearts pulsed anxiously, creating a dissonant rhythm his meditation training couldn't stabilize. Ambassador, his pilot called, optimal insertion window approaching. Global leaders have convened at their United Nations facility. Atmospheric conditions ideal. Krithax straightened his ceremonial carapace. The Conclave had entrusted him with this mission because of his perfect diplomatic record across 27 first contacts. This so-called humanity would become the 18th species under Conclave guidance, despite their peculiar developmental anomalies. Commence descent, he commanded. Maintain cloaking until. A violent impact rocked the ship. Warning signals blared as stabilizers failed. Collision with orbital debris, the pilot shouted. Primitive satellite fragments. Cloaking system compromised. The sleek diplomatic vessel tumbled through Earth's atmosphere, emergency systems deploying a cascade of stabilization fields that slowed their descent but couldn't prevent the inevitable crash landing. Reroute landing coordinates away from population centers. Krithax ordered, dignity intact despite the crisis. Perhaps this inauspicious beginning could still be salvaged. Jessie Martinez was having the worst shift of her Walmart career until the alien spaceship crashed into the parking lot. Holy shit, she exclaimed, dropping her price scanner as the silver craft skidded across the asphalt, obliterating 17 shopping carts and a Toyota Corolla before grinding to a halt beside the garden center. Without hesitation, she pulled out her phone and hit the livestream button on her TikTok app. Y'all are not gonna believe this, she whispered as her followers began connecting. Actual aliens just crashed at Walmart. This is not clickbait. The craft's hull rippled as an entry port materialized. Store customers gathered around. Phones raised, several already calling local news stations. A pair of truckers debated whether to approach the craft or wait for authorities. The alien that emerged looked nothing like the pop culture staples of little green men or elongated gray beings. Ambassador Krithax stood nearly 8 feet tall, his iridescent exoskeleton shifting colors in the Oklahoma sunlight. 4 arms emerged from his torso, each ending in 3-fingered appendages. His head featured no visible mouth, just 4 multifaceted eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. People of Earth, he began through his universal translator, dignity personified, despite the circumstances. I am Ambassador Krithax of the Galactic Conclave. I come in peace to welcome your species into the greater. Hey, buddy, you dented my truck, interrupted a man in a baseball cap, pointing to a pickup partially crushed by landing debris. I apologize for the unscheduled nature of our arrival, Krithax continued, diplomatic training kicking in despite his confusion. If you would kindly direct me to your Global Leadership Council. Want a beer? Offered another bystander, extending a Budweiser. You look like you could use one after that landing. Jessie's livestream follower count hit 1 million as she narrated. The alien dude looks totally confused, y'all. Oh wait, Someone's offering him a selfie. As sirens wailed in the distance and 3 news helicopters appeared overhead, Krithax realized that the Conclave's carefully calibrated first contact protocol, refined over 10,000 years of interspecies diplomacy, had been rendered completely irrelevant in less than 5 minutes by humanity's chaotic response to the unexpected. His sixth heart began palpitating with what his species experienced as existential dread. This assignment would not be proceeding according to plan. The Conclave's lunar research facility, hastily established after the Walmart incident, went viral across 17 galaxies, was a testament to efficient alien engineering. Its pristine white corridors, perfectly calibrated atmospheric regulators, and rigorously organized research stations represented the pinnacle of interspecies scientific collaboration. At least until the humans arrived. "What do you mean you crashed the stock market?" Dr. Elena Chen demanded, her blue-streaked hair falling across her face as she leaned across the conference table. "It's been 3 days since your team arrived." The Delphidian researcher, a translucent being whose neural pathways visibly pulsed with distress, fluttered apologetically. "We merely attempted to understand your species' resource allocation system." The concept of shorting stocks appeared to be ritualistic gambling where participants celebrate financial destruction. "So you place trillion-dollar bets against the global economy's major pillars." Elena pinched the bridge of her nose. "We wanted authentic cultural immersion," the alien explained. "Your Wolf of Wall Street documentary was most instructive." Across the facility, in the medical bay, a Moraxian anthropologist lay unconscious, its normally bronze skin flushed purple. A human doctor examined readings while speaking into a recorder. Patient attempted to participate in human competitive hot dog eating contest. Consumed 47 hot dogs in 10 minutes before collapsing. Preliminary diagnosis: severe allergic reaction to processed meat byproducts combined with cultural misunderstanding of what constitutes sporting activity on Earth. In the Central Observatory, Ambassador Krithax reviewed the High Assessment Council's preliminary report with increasing alarm. Their analysis program, calibrated through observations of 17 previously integrated species, projected a 78.3% probability of human self-extinction within a century. Evidence Item 4371, he read aloud. Humans knowingly consume substances classified as carcinogens for flavor experience. Evidence Item 4372. Subjects voluntarily damage auditory organs at music festivals, despite clear biological warning signals. The report contained 12,843 similar observations. "Our recommendation is clear," stated the senior counselor via holographic projection. "Species designation: developmentally aberrant. Prescribed intervention: placement under conclave guardianship for minimum 300 standard years until evolutionary corrections can be implemented." Krithax began composing his acceptance of these findings when alarms blared throughout the facility. Elena had borrowed a maintenance shuttle. The proper requisition process would have taken 6 weeks, according to conclave protocols. The council meeting was happening now. She crash-landed in the conclave hangar with more enthusiasm than precision. 3 security drones attempted to intercept her. She disabled them with an electromagnetic pulse device cobbled together from spare parts in the human quarters. The council chamber doors slid open as she burst in, interrupting the formal assessment ceremony. 17 alien dignitaries turned in shock as the disheveled human marched toward the central platform. "With respect," she announced, though her tone suggested minimal respect was actually being offered, "your entire assessment methodology is bullshit." The untranslatable expletive caused several counselors to experience temporary sensory disruption. "Humans don't survive despite taking risks," Elena continued, commandeering the presentation system. "We thrive because of them. Yes, we do dangerous things. We climb mountains. We surf sun emis. We eat foods that might kill us. But those aren't flaws in our development. They're features." She displayed images of human achievements: heart transplants, moon landings, deep-sea exploration. None of these happened by following safe, predictable paths. They happened because someone was willing to risk failure, even death, for something meaningful. The council chamber remained stunned into silence. "You've spent millennia eliminating risk from your societies," Elena concluded. "And you've created something incredible, stable, peaceful, advanced. But you've lost something too. The capacity for radical adaptation. The willingness to fail spectacularly in pursuit of something new." She locked eyes with Krithax. "We have a saying on Earth, YOLO, you only live once. Not a denial of mortality, but an embrace of it. We don't take risks because we don't understand death. We take them precisely because we do." As the implications of this philosophy rippled through the assembled aliens' consciousness, numerous emergency medical protocols activated automatically. The Council had just encountered its first existential crisis in 2,000 years. The emergency sirens caught everyone by surprise. Elena had expected security to escort her from the Council chambers after her impromptu speech. Instead, the dignified proceedings dissolved into controlled chaos as priority alerts flashed across every display screen. Ambassador Krithax's exoskeleton paled to a sickly yellow. "Impossible," he whispered, all 6 eyes fixated on the incoming data streams. "What is it?" Elena asked, momentarily forgotten in the crisis. The central holographic display activated, revealing a massive object accelerating toward the solar system. It resembled an enormous mechanical lotus, its metallic petals housing what appeared to be weapon systems of incomprehensible scale. "The Scythe," whispered an elderly council member. After all these millennia, a conclave historical specialist activated an emergency briefing protocol. Ancient defensive system created by the archivist species before their extinction, designed to eliminate civilizations developing prohibited technologies. 37 previous activations recorded. Survival rate, 0. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. "And it's coming here. Why?" Krithax turned to her, his translator struggling to convey the appropriate gravity. "Your quantum experiments at CERN. The energy signature matches an archivist prohibition pattern. But we're just trying to understand fundamental physics." The archivists didn't differentiate between research and weaponization, the specialists explained. Their protocols were absolute. The emergency session of the Conclave War Council, a ceremonial body that hadn't faced an actual crisis in 4 millennia, convened in a chamber thick with tension. "The ancient threat containment protocol is clear," announced the senior counselor, her crystalline form glittering under the emergency lights. "We must evacuate all conclave personnel and establish a quarantine barrier around the affected system." "You can't just abandon Earth," Elena protested from the observer's platform. "The Scythe cannot be defeated," the counselor stated flatly. "In all recorded instances, attempting to fight it has only accelerated extinction events. Containment is our only option." The vote was swift and nearly unanimous. 27 for evacuation and quarantine, 1 abstention. The dissenter, Krithax himself, was noted for the record but overruled. President Amara Jackson's expression remained impassive as Krithax delivered the news via secure video link. World leaders from 193 nations watched silently as the ambassador explained, with genuine regret, that the conclave would be departing within 72 hours. When he finished, President Jackson leaned forward, dark eyes focused with laser intensity. "Let me make sure I understand correctly, Ambassador. Your expert advice is to run away and let us die." Krithax's translator struggled with her tone, somewhere between incredulity and contempt. "It is the established protocol for this scenario. In all previous encounters." "Respectfully, Ambassador," Jackson interrupted, her voice now steel-edged, "humanity doesn't accept extinction as an option." From screens around the world, other leaders nodded in agreement. "But the statistical certainty," Krithax began. "Statistics don't apply to individual cases," interrupted the German chancellor. "Each situation is unique. We've faced extinction before, added the Kenyan president. Ice ages, plagues, world wars. Survival is what we do. For the first time in his diplomatic career, Krithak found himself speechless. As the conclave fleet prepared for emergency departure, junior xenobiologist Zeltor worked frantically in his laboratory. Born with a rare Valthid mutation causing dangerously elevated curiosity levels, he had become fascinated with human resilience. "You shouldn't be here," he said without looking up as Elena entered his lab. "Neither should you," she countered. "Aren't you supposed to be evacuating?" Zeltor's manipulator appendages flew across control surfaces, transferring massive data packets to a human-compatible storage device. "The Conclave believes death is certain," he said, disconnecting the completed transfer. "But you humans have shown me something remarkable. Certainty itself is an illusion." He pressed the device into Elena's hands. "Everything we have on the scythe. Schematics, previous encounter records, theoretical vulnerabilities. Why are you helping us?" Zeltor's inner eyelids flickered, the Valthid equivalent of a smile. "Because in 4,000 years of Conclave history, no one has ever told us YOLO before. Perhaps that is your advantage." 29 days until extinction. The abandoned Conclave moonbase transformed overnight from sterile research facility to chaotic war room, where alien scientists had maintained immaculate workstations. Humans now spread papers across every surface, jury-rigged equipment together with duct tape, and left coffee cups on million-year-old artifacts. Elena stood before a wall-sized display showing Scythe's approach vector. The Conclave might have given up, she told the assembled team of scientists, engineers, and military strategists, but they left us something valuable: data. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, quantum physicist from CERN, scrutinized the archivist weapon schematics. "These energy signatures shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. It defies known physics, which is why no one's beaten it before," Elena replied. "They were playing by the rules of physics as we understand them. We need to break those rules. We're going to hack an alien doomsday weapon using technology we barely understand." General Rivera asked skeptically. Elena grinned. "Exactly. Let's get to work." Around the world, humanity's response defied all conventional crisis management protocols. In Tokyo, gaming company programmers collaborated with former cybercriminals to create defense algorithms designed to be deliberately unpredictable. Their lead developer explained to military officials, "Traditional defense software follows logical patterns. We're designing code that makes intuitive leaps, like jazz improvisation, but for planetary defense." In Lagos, petroleum engineers converted deep-sea drilling platforms into massive electromagnetic disruptors. "If we can't destroy it," their team leader reasoned, "maybe we can give it a migraine." Silicon Valley tech companies repurposed satellite networks into early warning systems, while competition between rival billionaires drove innovation at breakneck speed. "First one to save the world gets exclusive bragging rights," announced one CEO, authorizing unlimited resources for his team. But the most unexpected development came from an unlikely coalition formed in an abandoned ski resort in Colorado. "Welcome to Chaos Division," announced Raj Mehta, former parkour world champion and stunt coordinator. Around him stood an improbable team: extreme sports athletes, Hollywood stunt performers, demolition experts, and the world's leading chaos theoreticians. "Conventional thinking won't save us," Raj continued, addressing the skeptical military observers. "The Scythe has encountered logical, strategic responses before and crushed them. But it's never faced deliberately engineered insanity." On screens around the room, simulations showed conventional defense scenarios failing repeatedly. But when unpredictable, seemingly irrational elements were introduced, fighters executing impossible maneuvers, decoys appearing where no rational strategist would place them, the simulated Scythe's response times slowed dramatically. "It's a pattern recognition system," explained Dr. Levy, chaos mathematician. "It expects us to be rational. Every time we do something that defies prediction, its processing cycles multiply exponentially. You want to confuse it to death, General Rivera summarized. Precisely, Raj nodded. And humans are excellent at being confusing. When Scythe's first wave entered the solar system, a vanguard of smaller attack craft designed to neutralize defensive capabilities, it encountered not the organized resistance its programming expected, but a bewildering mosaic of interconnected yet independent defenses. The ancient AI's analysis protocols, designed to identify and efficiently neutralize systematic responses, crashed repeatedly while attempting to map human countermeasures. In Earth orbit, retrofitted commercial satellites suddenly changed function from communications to electromagnetic disruptors at random intervals. Ground-based defenses activated in patterns that matched no known military doctrine. Decoy targets appeared and disappeared following mathematical sequences based on prime numbers and Fibonacci series. At Chaos Division headquarters, Raj watched the sensor feeds with grim satisfaction as the first wave's formation faltered. "It's working," he breathed. "They're adjusting course every time we do something unpredictable, trying to recalculate." He grabbed the secure communication channel, broadcasting to defense coordinators worldwide. "Keep changing the patterns. Random isn't random enough. Be deliberately, methodically unpredictable." As the first Scythe vessels began firing on Earth's defenses, missing their targets more often than connecting, Raj explained his strategy to the stunned military observers. Sometimes the best way to win an impossible game is to flip the board. The Astral Inquiry drifted silently at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to both Earth's defensive sensors and the approaching Scythe armée. The sleek research vessel, technically violating 17 separate conclave non-interference protocols, had remained behind for one purpose: to document humanity's final days. Observation Log, Cycle 37. Senior xenobiologist Jalvin dictated, her translucent tentacles shifting colors with each syllable. Scythe first wave engagement has exceeded predicted survival duration by 327%. Human defensive measures demonstrate unprecedented adaptability. On the main view screen, Earth's improvised defense network continued to confound the Scythe's attack algorithms. The ancient weapons system, designed to execute extinction with mathematical precision, was failing to establish targeting solutions against humanity's chaotic response patterns. "They should have been obliterated within hours," muttered Security Officer Drav, his armored exoskeleton clicking with agitation. "Yet they persist. Is that disappointment I detect, officer?" Jelvin inquired, compound eyes narrowing. "Scientific objectivity," he corrected stiffly. "We are here to document, not intervene. The data must remain untainted by emotional investment." The bridge fell silent as they watched a squadron of retrofitted Earth spacecraft execute a maneuver that defied both conventional physics and tactical logic. Instead of evading a Scythe destroyer, they flew directly at it in formation, then scattered in 12 different directions simultaneously. The Scythe's targeting systems, attempting to predict all potential vectors, overloaded momentarily, creating a vulnerability that Earth's defense network immediately exploited. "Fascinating," Jalvin whispered. "They're using their own unpredictability as a weapon." In the ship's recreational chamber, Junior Science Officer Pascal violated protocol for the 17th time that day. Her unauthorized communication array, concealed beneath standard research equipment, transmitted directly to Earth's frequencies. "More of the bass drops, please," she subvocalized into the transmitter. "And the musical patterns you call jazz. Most enlightening." For weeks, she had been intercepting human cultural transmissions, becoming increasingly obsessed with their music. Her neural pathways, evolved for recognizing mathematical patterns, found both frustration and fascination in human compositions that deliberately subverted predictable arrangements. "Warning: unauthorized transmission detected," the ship's security system announced. Pascal froze as the chamber door slid open, revealing the towering figure of Security Officer Drav. "Explain yourself," he demanded, mandibles clicking in disapproval. "Research," she replied. attempting to project confident professionalism despite her quivering appendages. Their music defies mathematical prediction patterns. Their improvisation creates outcomes our algorithms cannot anticipate. You risk our mission for music. What if unpredictability itself is their evolutionary advantage? Pascal challenged, suddenly emboldened. The conclave values stability, predictability, careful advancement. These humans embrace chaos, risk, spontaneity. And look. She gestured toward the display showing Earth successfully repelling the first scythe wave. They're surviving what our models deemed unsurvivable. What if our evolutionary theories are fundamentally flawed? On the bridge, the crew watched in stunned disbelief as humanity celebrated their partial victory. Despite catastrophic damage to orbital installations and numerous casualties, Earth's cities erupted in impromptu parties. Humans danced, drank, and, as Officer Drav noted with clinical discomfort, engaged in what appeared to be recreational mating behaviors. They're celebrating. A junior analyst asked incredulously. The second wave is already mobilizing with adapted countermeasures. Their probability of survival remains below 0.03%. Yet they celebrate the moment. Jalvin observed thoughtfully. Perhaps because they understand the fragility of existence in ways our longer-lived species have forgotten. The ship's strategic console chimed with a priority alert. Scythe's second wave had launched, its weapons reconfigured to counter humanity's initial defensive tactics. Jalvin made her decision. Prepare a transmission to the Conclave fleet. That violates quarantine protocols, Drav objected immediately. Indeed it does, Jalvin agreed, her skin cycling through decision colors. But I believe we are witnessing something unprecedented. An evolutionary advantage that the wider galactic community has lost through millennia of safety-optimized development. What the Conclave classified as primitive developmental defects might actually be survival adaptations we no longer possess. She straightened to her full height, tentacles aligning in formal declaration posture. And if that is true, then the humans may not only deserve to survive, the galaxy may need them to. Scythe's second wave hit Earth with devastating precision. The ancient weapons system had adapted, analyzing the patterns within humanity's apparent chaos and recalibrating its approach. From the Moonbase Command Center, Elena watched in horror as defense networks collapsed worldwide. Jakarta disappeared in a blinding flash. The Mediterranean defense grid went dark. The Chaos Division's Colorado headquarters took a direct hit, communication cutting mid-transmission. They've adapted, Dr. Tanaka said grimly. They found the patterns in our unpredictability. Then we need to become even more unpredictable, Elena insisted, though exhaustion edged her voice. 3 days without sleep had left dark circles under her eyes. The emergency communication system chimed. General Rivera's face appeared, backdrop shifting as his mobile command center raced through Nevada desert terrain. We've activated the Lazarus Initiative, he reported. God help us all. The what? Elena asked. Classified program. Joint operation between special forces and, his expression turned pained. Extreme sports professionals. They're deploying now. Satellite feeds showed what remained of Earth's defensive spacecraft executing maneuvers that defied both physics and sanity. Pilots pulled turns generating forces that skimmed the edge of fatal. Vessels deliberately flew into debris fields, using fragments as both shields and weapons. One commander's voice crackled through with disturbing clarity. Executing controlled suicide run with optional survival component. They'll kill themselves, Dr. Tanaka whispered. Maybe, Elena acknowledged. But they're buying us time to find another solution. Across the galaxy, Ambassador Krithax faced the culmination of his distinguished career, in the form of a disciplinary hearing. The Conclave Central Chamber, usually reserved for ceremonial functions, now hosted a scandal unprecedented in recent memory. Hundreds of representatives watched as Jalvin's unauthorized transmission played on the central display. The footage showed humans protecting unrelated offspring at risk to themselves. parents running into danger zones to save not just their own children, but any child in peril. Soldiers sacrificing themselves for comrades with no genetic relation. This behavior violates established evolutionary theory, the senior counselor declared. All rational species prioritize genetic continuation. These actions are evolutionary irrational. Krithax straightened his ceremonial vestments and approached the speaker's platform, ignoring the whispers that rippled through the assembly. After 4 decades of diplomatic service, he was about to commit career suicide. Distinguished colleagues, he began, his translator set to formal declaration mode. I submit that we may be wrong. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. For 40,000 years, the conclave has refined our understanding of evolutionary development. We have guided species toward unity, stability, and rational self-preservation. Yet, in all that time, how many threats like the scythe have we actually defeated? None. We have only run from them. He gestured to the human footage still frozen on the display. These humans, with their chaotic societies and reckless behaviors, have survived the first wave of a threat that has exterminated 37 civilizations. They did not do this despite their apparently irrational tendencies, but because of them. The senior counselor rose. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? I am proposing the most radical idea in conclave history, that our evolutionary understanding is incomplete, that in our quest for perfect rationality, we have eliminated beneficial mutations that these humans still possess. That diversity of evolutionary approach, including seemingly irrational risk-taking, may provide survival advantages against threats we cannot predict. He squared his shoulders. I am returning to Earth with any who will join me. Not to rescue humans. They may well perish despite our help, but to learn from them while we still can. Earth's defenses were collapsing. The Lazarus Initiative's pilots had performed the impossible, but the scythe adapted faster than humans could innovate. Major population centers were gone. Global communications operated at 12% capacity. Then, impossibly, the lunar sensors detected incoming vessels. Conclave ships, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Alina's emergency communicator activated, revealing a familiar face. Ambassador Krithax. I thought you'd evacuated. The ambassador's translator conveyed what might have been embarrassment. We have committed what my species calls logical heresy. 1/3 of the conclave fleet has broken with consensus to return. You came back to save us. No, Dr. Chen. We came back to learn from you, and perhaps together, we might both survive. The ruins of Geneva's International District became an unlikely joint command center. Conclave scientists, with their pristine equipment, set up alongside human military personnel operating on caffeine and desperation. The cultural clash reached comical proportions immediately. You can't just modify quantum stabilizers without 17 approval procedures, protested senior engineer Philaxu as a team of human technicians dismantled a conclave scanner. Watch us, replied Dr. Sofia Rodriguez, redirecting power couplings while simultaneously gulping cold coffee. We need this reconfigured in hours, not months. Nearby, Ambassador Krithax experienced what his species called multiple cardiac event risk as he watched humans testing modified shield technology by voluntarily standing near potential explosion sites. Their only additional protection. Items they called lucky. A rabbit's foot. A worn baseball cap. A photograph. This is not a scientifically sound methodology, he whispered to Alina. No, she agreed, watching the test team give thumbs-up signals. But it's very human. As days passed, an unlikely partnership emerged between Alina and Krithax, where most human conclave interactions devolved into frustration, their complementary approaches. His meticulous analysis, balanced by her intuitive leaps, created a working model that neither species could have developed alone. Together, they developed convergent protocol theory, the systematic application of controlled chaos and calculated risk, conclave precision guided by human unpredictability. Your species evolved toward perfect safety. Alina explained during one late-night session. Ours evolved toward calculated risk. Both approaches have advantages and limitations, Krithax acknowledged, something that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. With 17 days until Scythe's third and final wave, a planet killer carrying enough firepower to reduce Earth to molten slag, the breakthroughs remained elusive. Conventional weapons barely scratched the Scythe's defenses. Hacking attempts against its systems failed repeatedly. The unexpected development came from the most unlikely source. "Excuse me," said a hesitant voice at the command center entrance. "I was told to report here." Elena turned to see a lanky 17-year-old Chinese-American boy clutching a battered laptop. Feng Zhu, General Rivera introduced. MIT accepted him at 14. Currently the world's foremost expert on procedurally generated game environments, and apparently alien communication patterns. Feng adjusted his glasses nervously. "I've been analyzing the symbolic language in Scythe's transmission signals. Their programming contains conceptual loops similar to ones I use for creating Minecraft mods." He opened his laptop, displaying complex symbol patterns. "See, this sequence here. It's not actually code. It's a self-referential semantic loop, like a pun, but for a machine intelligence. The archivist systems don't just execute commands. They understand concepts." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're saying we can talk to it?" Elena asked. "Not exactly," Feng replied. "But we might be able to introduce a paradox into its conceptual framework, something that forces it to reconsider its fundamental directives." Krithax's translator couldn't fully capture his amazement. A semantic virus. Conclave mathematicians immediately began calculating precise interdiction points while human volunteers, a mixed group of decorated pilots and reckless daredevils, prepared for what would likely be a one-way mission to deliver Feng's conceptual virus directly into Scythe's command core. Every simulation showed the mission's survival probability at 0%. "Why would you volunteer for certain death?" Thalaxu asked the squadron leader, Major Maria Diaz, unable to process her decision. Diaz checked her craft's systems, her face calm despite the odds. "Because someone has to do the impossible. But your simulations confirm it cannot be done." She looked up, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Impossible just means no one's been stubborn enough to make it happen yet." As the volunteer squad prepared for deployment, Feng worked feverishly with both human programmers and conclave conceptual analysts, refining his virus to target the philosophical foundations of the ancient weapon systems programming. "We're not trying to destroy it," he explained. "We're trying to change its mind." The final confrontation unfolded beyond Earth's atmosphere. 12 ships, a bizarre hybrid of conclave precision engineering and human improvisation, approached Scythe's command core. The massive weapon system, unfazed by this minimal threat, continued its inexorable advance toward Earth. "Transmission from Major Diaz," announced the communications officer in Geneva's command center. "Mission parameters confirmed," Diaz's calm voice reported over static. "Approaching target. Feng's virus package ready for delivery." Elena and Krithax watched the tactical display, surrounded by a tense mix of humans and aliens. No one spoke. The probability models gave the mission zero chance of success, yet here they were, 17-year-old Feng Zhu, clutching a tablet displaying his virus code. Ambassador Krithax's 6 hearts beating in dissonant rhythm, Elena's knuckles white as she gripped the command console. Scythe's defenses activated. 3 human ships disappeared instantly. 2 more followed seconds later. "They're adapting to our approach vectors," Diaz reported, her voice steady despite watching her teammates die. "Implementing Chaos Protocol." The remaining ships broke formation, each executing flight patterns that appeared randomly erratic but followed Feng's precisely calculated disruption algorithms. For precious seconds, Scythe's targeting systems faltered, creating the narrowest window of opportunity. "We're going in," Diaz transmitted. "See you on the other side." The feed cut to static. Inside Scythe's core, Against all probability models, Major Diaz and Feng Zhu, the only survivors, reached the central processing node. Blood streamed from Diaz's forehead as she protected the teenage programmer. "Hurry," she urged, firing her weapon at approaching defense drones. Feng connected his device to an access point, fingers flying across the interface, initiating semantic paradox sequence. Now, the entire structure shuddered. Lights flickered as the conceptual virus penetrated the ancient system's programming, creating cascading philosophical contradictions within its fundamental directives. Neural connection established, the massive view screen before them activated, displaying a simple message. Query: how did you survive? All previous extinction protocols, 100% effective. Feng, hands shaking, typed his response. We rewrote the rules. In Geneva, the command center erupted as sensors confirmed Scythe's weapons powering down. Cheers, tears, and disbelieving laughter spread through the room. Humans embraced aliens without regard for physiological incompatibilities. One conclave scientist, overwhelmed by emotion, began humming what his species considered sacred mathematical sequences. They did it, Elena whispered. They actually did it. Krithax's exoskeleton had shifted to a color humans couldn't perceive, the Valthid equivalent of wonder. Not according to any probability model. That's humanity for you, she replied with a tired smile. We don't accept unfavorable odds. 6 months later, the Conclave's Supreme Council convened an unprecedented Galactic Species Summit. For the first time in 40,000 years, the Council admitted the possibility of error. Ambassador Krithax, now elevated to senior evolutionary theorist, presented the revolutionary Adaptive Diversity Manifesto, arguing that homogeneous development leads to shared blind spots and civilizational vulnerability. Elena led humanity's first official delegation to Conclave homeworld, accompanied by Maria Diaz, Feng Zhu, and a partially recovered Raj Mehta from the Chaos Division. Her address to the assembled representatives became known as the Beautiful Disaster Speech. The universe isn't a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced, she told the silent chamber. Sometimes you must leap without certainty. Sometimes you must risk everything to discover what's possible. Sometimes the most irrational choice is the only one that works. The conclave voted to establish the Convergent Evolution Academy, where species from across the developmental spectrum would study complementary survival strategies. 20 years later, the first deep space exploration vessels departed with mixed crews of humans and various alien species. Their mission patches bore Earth's image alongside a modified conclave emblem, and the words that had become humanity's gift to the stars. Nothing is certain. Everything is possible. Inside Scythe's ancient core, now repurposed as a quantum research facility, a single artifact remained on display. A handwritten note from Maria Diaz reading simply, "Extinction isn't inevitable. It's just another protocol waiting to be rewritten."